Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. We are now in lesson 11, working with sequence and schema creation. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain sequence in database, write and execute SQL statement that creates a sequence, query the data dictionary using user sequences to confirm a sequence definition, and apply the rules for using nextFile and carval to generate sequential unique numbers in a table. Primary key is the key to identify the unique row. In a table, primary key is mostly a number. As a clerk, it is tedious for you to insert a unique ID for every record in database. What if you went to lunch and when you returned, someone else had entered some of the records? How would you know where to start again? Fortunately, SQL has a process for automatically generating unique numbers that eliminates the worry about the details of duplicate numbers. The numbering process is handled through a database object called a sequence. A sequence is a shareable object used to automatically generate unique numbers. Because it is shareable object, multiple users can access it. Typically, sequences are used to create a primary key value. As we know, primary key must be unique for each row. The sequence is generated and incremented by an internal Oracle routine. This object is a time saver for you because it reduces the amount of code you need to write. Sequence numbers are stored and generated independently of tables. Therefore, the same sequence can be used for multiple tables. Here is the SQL or the syntax on how to create the sequence. Create sequence, sequence name, increment by n, start with n, maximum value n or no maximum value, minimum value n or no minimum value, cycle or no cycle, cache or no cache. Sequence name must be unique and depends on the schema that we are using. For increment by n, it specifies the interval between sequence number where n is an integer. Start with n specifies the first sequence number to be generated. Maximum value n specifies the maximum value the sequence can generate. If you don't have any maximum value, put no maximum value. Min value n min specifies the minimum sequence value. If you don't have any minimum value, put no min value. Cycle specifies whether the sequence continues or generates after reaching its maximum or minimum value. If no cycle, means you don't want to repeat the number again. For cache, it specifies how many values the Oracle server pre-allocates and keeps in memory. If no cache is used, then of course the number will not be pre-allocated inside the system or memory. The no cache option prevents values in the sequence from being cached in memory, which in the event of system failure prevents numbers pre-allocated and held in memory from being lost. The no cycle option prevents the numbering from starting over at 1 if the value 50,000 is exceeded. Don't use the cycle option if the sequence is used to generate primary key values, unless there is a reliable mechanism that deletes all rows faster than new ones are added. If no cache is specified, the last number column in the query displays the next available sequence number. If cache is specified, the last number column displays the next available number in the sequence which has not been cached into memory yet. To verify that a sequence was created, query the user object's data dictionary. To see all of the sequence settings, query the user sequences data dictionary as shown on the screen. Select sequence name, minimum value, maximum value, increment by, last number from user underscore sequences. Then you can see all of the sequences in your schema. To see what is the current value or next value of our sequence, we can use nextFile and carval pseudo columns. The nextFile pseudo column is used to extract successive sequence numbers from a specified sequence. You must qualify nextFile with the sequence name. When you reference sequence name.nextFile, a new sequence number is generated and the current sequence number is placed in carval or current value. The carval pseudo column is used to refer to a sequence number that the current user has just generated. Next val must be used to generate a sequence number in the current user session before carval can be referenced. You must qualify also the carval with sequence name. You can use next val and carval in the following context: the select list of a select statement that is not part of a subquery, the select list of a subquery in an insert statement, the values clause of an insert statement, and the set clause of an update statement. You cannot use next val and carval in the following context: the select list of a view, a select statement with a distinct keyword, a select statement with group by, having, or order by clauses, a subquery in a select, delete, or update statement, and the default expression in a create table or alter table statement. Sequence can be dropped or modified. If you want to modify a sequence, you need to use alter sequence statement. However, there are few guidelines. The first one, you must be the owner or have the author privilege for the sequence in order to modify it. Only future sequence numbers are affected by the author sequence statement. The start with option cannot be changed using author sequence. The sequence must be dropped and recreated in order to restart the sequence at a different number. So now let's take a look on how to create the sequence by using SQL. So if you take a look, we have empty table here, department and staff. Okay, so if you take a look on your sequence over here, we don't have any sequence yet in this table. Okay, we don't have any, in the database, in the schema, we don't have any sequence yet. So by right, let's take a look on how to create the sequence. First, we create the sequence for department ID. Since staff is using department ID, if you take a look, staff is using department ID, so of course we need to create the data for department first before we can insert data into staff table. Okay, so on how can we create the sequence, we create sequence. This is the sequence name, increment by 10, start with 10. So what does it mean here? It will start with 10, the second record will be 20 because it is increment by 10, the third record is 30, and so forth. Okay, the maximum value is 400, no cache, no cycle. So means we don't want to cache any value when you want to insert, and there is no cycle, means the number will not be repeated. Okay, so if we execute this one, okay, supposedly if we refresh our sequence here, we get the department ID sequence. Okay, so you can see the sequence. So it is just created on 12th June here. Okay, the sequence owner is testing. Testing is the schema name, okay, or the username. The sequence name, department ID, minimum value 1. Okay, increment by 10. Okay, the last number is 10. So what is it by last number here? So it means the last number, the first, okay, the first value if you want to insert the data. So let's take a look on how to use the sequence. Okay, insert into department. So this is our table. Okay, what is inside department? Let's take a look first. We have department ID and department name. Okay, dep ID, comma, dep name. Okay, so values. Okay, values. So the first thing that we do is take the sequence name. The sequence name is department ID underscore sequence dot next val. Okay, so it means the last number. What is the last number? The last number just now. Okay, if you take a look, the last number that we have here is 10. So it will start with 10. Okay, department. The department name maybe marketing. Let's say we put this one, or maybe put the first one as management lah. Okay, management. Okay, so if you take a look here, so if we run the statement, say that one row inserted. Okay, one row inserted over here. Okay, so let's take a look on our table department. Okay, the first data is 10 because the last number just now is 10. So now let's take a look on our sequence. Okay, the last number is 20, so means the next val that we will insert will be 20. Or you want to see what is the current value, so we can do this one. Select department ID underscore sequence, the sequence name, dot carval, okay, from dual. Oops. Okay, so if you select the current value is 10 because we just inserted 10 just now. Okay, then if you want to see what is the next value, then of course you will see the next value should be 20 and so forth. Okay, so the last number here 20. So let's say I insert another one, department ID sequence. The second one is human resource, for example. Okay, human resource. Then next val, the car val is 10. Then if we insert the next val here, it will be, one inserted, it will be 20. Let's take a look. Okay, the data 20. Okay, so that's the use of sequence. So that the next time, let's say after this you go to do another work, you go idle for a while from the system, then you want to insert the next department, so you need to recheck back your database, what is the next number, because you want to put inside here. So let's say I put the next one is 30, then I can put 30 also over here. Okay, there's no problem. Okay, however, you will not remember what is the next number, okay, after you finish with the system. Okay, so that's why by using sequence, it will actually give you an auto number, so that it will be easier for you to insert the data later on, because you don't have to remember what is the next primary key and so forth. Okay, take a look at the department ID sequence back. The last number will be 30. So means after this, if we insert next val, it would be 30. Okay, it will be 30. So now I want to insert data for staff. Okay, so let's refresh. Okay, so we don't have any data in the staff yet. Okay, so create sequence staff ID sec. Okay, so this is the sequence name. Increment by 1. We start with 100. Max value 50,000. Minimum value 99 because we want to start with 100. So the minimum value should be 99 lah, because you cannot start your number with the minimum value. Okay, cache 5. Okay, no cycle. So means every time each user want to use this sequence, okay, this staff ID sequence, they will cache 5 numbers straight away. Okay, so let's take a look. What does it mean? So let's create the sequence first. Okay, so now let's refresh the sequence. So you have the staff ID sequence. Okay, so since we have a new, so the last number is 100. So now let's try to insert value. Okay, for example here, we insert into staff ID, staff name, staff address, salary, email, hire date, department ID, value, staff ID sequence dot next val. Okay, so if we execute this one row has been inserted. So let's take a look at our staff. Okay, let's take a look at our staff. It will start with 100. Okay, now take a look. How many does this user cache? 5. So means, let's say if the system crash, okay, if the system crash abnormally, okay, so of course you will not get, okay, because you just insert one data, isn't it? Okay, you just insert one data over here. Okay, so the next one, okay, we have 100 up until 5 numbers. Okay, so the next one, after you have finished, okay, or let's say if the system crash, as I say, if the system crash, you cannot get back 102 up until 105. It will start with 106 straight away. Or if another user wants to use the same staff ID sequence, it will start with 106. You cannot start with 105 anymore. Okay, so let's take, okay, let's put all the values. Alia, Abu. Okay, so let's say we put Abu, the second one. Okay, so refresh Abu, one row inserted. Then Lily. Okay, so now we have 3 data, isn't it? Okay, we have 3 data. So let's take a look. 100 until 102. But still, we still cache up until 105. Since we haven't finished up until 105, the last number will not be increased. Okay, so let's take a look another one. Let's say we put until up 105. Okay, once you finish with 105, then the cache number, okay, see, it will become 110. It become 110 because you cache 5. From 105, we cache another 5. So 110. Okay, so after you finish the cache, then they will increase the cache by 5 again. Increase the cache by 5 again. Okay, so sometimes, okay, let's say, okay, so let's say, now let's commit first. Okay, let's commit. Okay, so commit complete. So let's say we put another value. Okay. Oops. Okay, let's put another value. Okay, one row inserted. Let's put another one. Okay, so by right we have up until 107. Okay, we have up until 107. Okay, just now we commit, but what if we roll back? What if we roll back? So when you roll back, the value become 105 again. The last time you commit into the database. Okay, so now I want to insert the new value. Okay, I insert the same stuff. Okay, but will this stuff, just now we have 105, isn't it? Will this stuff get 106? No. Okay, you have 108 straight away because just now you have used the number for the sequence 106 and 107 you have used, but you delete from the database. Okay, since you delete, the sequence number is also deleted because we take the next value, which is 108. So this is how the gap can happen in your database. Okay, this is how the gap can happen in the database by using sequence. If you want 106, then you need to start over from the start. You delete the sequence, then you create the sequence again and insert the value one by one. Okay, from the start. Okay, so this is how the gap can happen, the number gap. Supposedly, if we take a look at the stuff table over here, after 105 it should be 106, isn't it? But now it is 108 because the 106 and 107 just now we have used the sequence number, but we delete the data from the database. We cannot get back the sequence number. Okay, so that's how the gap can happen in your sequence. Other than the gap by rollback, okay, as I said, another gap that can happen for your sequence. Okay, this is what we call as gap lah. Supposedly it should be 106 and 107, but we have the gap over here. Okay, first one is by using the rollback. The second one is if the system crash. Okay, so if you have if your cache if you cache your sequence, okay, if you have cache in your sequence, then of course if the system crash, we cannot get back the number inside that we have inside the cache. Okay, so it will start with 111. The next time you restart back your database and use the sequence. Okay, so please be careful. Okay, so that's why normally people will always use no cache, no cycle. No cache means the number will not be cached in memory. Okay, and no cycle means the number will not be repeated. Okay, especially for if you use sequence for the primary key, since primary key cannot be the same. If you use cycle later on, the number can be repeated, so it will give you an error message later on, so it will give you some problem later on. So better use no cache, no cycle for the sequence. So next one, let's say you want to see what are your sequences. Other than clicking the object over here to see your sequence, you can use also select all from user sequences. Okay, select all from user sequences. Okay, so if you execute this one, then we will see that inside this schema we have two different sequence. So now if you want to modify your sequence, so this is the syntax, alter sequence. This is the name of the sequence. Increment by 2. Just now we do increment by 1. Now I want to do it increment by 2. Maximum value 5,000. Just now the maximum value is 50,000. No cache, no cycle. So if you execute this one, then say the sequence sequence stuff ID has been altered. Okay, so let's take a look on the sequence. Refresh back. See, the maximum value become 5,000. There's no cache anymore. Okay, then the last number is 110. Okay, so now let's try to insert another value. Okay, so now let's try to insert a new value over here. Okay, a new value for the stuff. say one row inserted. So let's go back to staff table. If you can see that, see, it start with 110. Just now the last number is 110, isn't it? Because we lost all the cache. Okay, we lost all the cache. Start with 110. So if you want to insert another one, okay, if you want to insert another one, okay, increment by 2. So what it will be? 112. Then the next one 114, 116, because the sequence is increased by 2. Okay, just now we have altered the sequence. Okay, the last number now 114. So means after this it will become 114 if you use next file. So now what if I want to alter back my sequence, alter sequence staff ID, increment by 1 by maximum value 100. Okay, but the maximum value is 100. So if I execute this one, we will receive an error message. You cannot modify the sequence because why? Maximum value 100, but what do you have inside the database now? The value, the maximum value now is 112. Okay, so what if you put the maximum value 113, for example? Can this be executed? Yes, it can be executed because it haven't exceed the last number that we have inside the staff ID over here. Okay, or inside the last number. Okay, the last number over here. So it is important for you to know what is the last number that you have in your current sequence. Okay, so if not, you cannot alter your sequence. So if you want to remove the sequence, then of course you need to use drop statement. Okay, drop sequence. The sequence name, staff ID, sequence. Okay, so if you execute this one, says sequence, staff ID has been dropped. So if you take a look based on our sequence over here, okay, if we refresh the sequence, so we only have one sequence. Okay, the sequence of staff ID just now is dropped already from the database. So that's all about the sequence. So now let's take a look on how to create new schema for your project. Okay, so open the system connection over here, then put create user. Okay, so what is the name of your schema? Maybe you put as car wash system. Okay, car wash system, identified by what is the password? I put system as my password. Okay, create user car wash system, identified by system. Okay, so the car wash system has been created over here. So let's take a look on other user. Okay, take a look. You already have the car wash system. Okay, so this is the user that we have just created just now. Okay, that we created just now. Okay, so the next part is please make sure you grant all privileges to your user just now. Okay, grant all privileges to car wash system. So if you execute this one, grant succeeded. So means if you don't grant the privileges, so you cannot the next part nanti you cannot create a new table, cannot alter table and so forth. So just grant all privileges to car wash so that you have all the privileges inside database. Okay, so now create new connection. Okay, so the connection name is car wash system is now, the username car wash system. What is the password? System. Then we test success, then we can connect. Okay, so now you have the car wash system. So take a look in your table. Okay, if you expand, okay, of course there's no table yet. Because why? Because you just created the user, you just grant the privileges, but you haven't created any table yet. So this is where you can use the previous lesson knowledge on how to create a table. Okay, if you don't want to use the SQL, you just can right click and create new table. Okay, so you have the wizard lah, the same thing. But I would prefer if we use the SQL lah, so that you will understand more about how to create a table by using SQL. So I guess that's all. Okay, for our lab lesson. Happy coding for your project, and please make sure you have created the database, you have tested certain data, put the constraints on the table, or use the sequence if you want, okay, for your project. So that's all for our SQL lesson. Hopefully it is useful for your knowledge, especially to create or to coding for your project. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum.